In this spooky episode of Travelogue, we experience Ghost Festival in Fengdu on the outskirts of Chongqing. I find out how people honor their ancestors and discover the special connection between this place and the underworld.
Isn't the most populated city along the Yangtze River. It doesn't have the largest economy, but Fengdu has a very special claim to fame. You mention Fengdu to pretty much any Chinese person and they will immediately think of something that might surprise you. And that's because Fengdu is home to Fengdu Guicheng, or Ghost City. And according to legend, this is the capital of the underworld. This is where all souls come once they've departed the land of the living. Now, how did this seemingly calm and peaceful little city by the river come to be associated with the underworld? I'm not sure either, but we're gonna find the answers together, if you dare. I'm Megan, and you're watching Travelogue.
Fengdu is tucked away in the farthest reaches of Chongqing, about 200 kilometers from the city center. Depending on who you ask, you may hear different stories of how Ghost City ended up here. A commonly accepted explanation dates back 1900 years to the Eastern Han Dynasty, when two Taoists, a Master Yin and a Master Wang, came here to cultivate themselves. The legend goes the two achieved immortality. Time went by, and the men themselves were largely forgotten, but not their names, Yin and Wang. Now it so happens that Yin Wang sounds a bit like Chinese for ruler of the underworld. Later, Journey to the West and other literature mentioned Fengdu in connection with the underworld. By the Ming Dynasty, around 500 years ago, Fengdu was more or less known as the place where dead souls dwell.
All right, so this is the very first trial that the dead will encounter when they arrive here in Ghost City. Check it out. This is Naiheqiao, otherwise known as the Bridge of Helplessness. Not a very hopeful sounding name, and that's because it's supposed to be a challenge for the dead when they are crossing this bridge. They are very likely to be pushed in by demons if they've been sinners in their past life. Now, for visitors like us, who are alive, it's also not super easy to cross this bridge. Apparently, if you are a sinner, you're very likely to trip and fall. And even in the old days, they would actually slick the bridge with oil to make it that much harder. Now, if that's not difficult enough, you actually have to count the number of steps you take when you're crossing the bridge as well. You have to cross in an odd number of steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Now for the dead, obviously it's a one-way flight across this bridge, but if you're alive and you're a visitor like us, you gotta be able to go back. So you can't take that middle bridge on the way back. It has to be one of these two bridges that's on either side. Now this is the Golden Bridge, and this bridge is the one you want to take if what you're after is wealth and affluence and prosperity. And the bridge over there is the Silver Bridge, and this is the bridge you'll take if you want health and peace in your life. And I think that's a little bit more important to me right now, so this is the one that we're going to take going back.
The rules are a little different for couples. If they'd like to find each other again in the next life, and hopefully most of them do, they have to cross holding hands.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Looks like even death won't part these guys. No doubt they'll be seeing each other again.
So this is not a wishing well. This giant basin of water actually has a really interesting story. Back in the day, shop owners needed a way to test if the people shopping in their store are ghosts or alive. And basically, they would leave this basin of water outside their store, and everyone who came to shop had to put in a coin, and if it sank to the bottom, then those people are human and the money is real. And if you're a ghost, the money would probably float and mysteriously not sink. So it's a good thing to know that we are alive and we would be able to shop.
Along the climb up to Ghost Torturing Pass, which is said to be the entryway to the underworld, a whole gang of spirits line the way to greet you. There's a naughty spirit, an alcoholic spirit, even a perverted spirit, apparently. All an example of what not to be.
So here's a test of good and evil. If you can balance in here for 3 minutes straight on one leg, you're a good person. Now, it's not very easy because there's actually a ball at the bottom that's attempting to throw you off. Even without the ball, I think balancing on one leg for 3 minutes is already hard enough as it is. So, okay. So get practicing on your yoga moves because you might have to face that trial when you get to the underworld.
You may be wondering who or what will greet you in the underworld. It's good to know these friendly faces are the ones who determine who's been naughty or nice. His hat reads, "Oh, you're here too?" At least they have a sense of humor.
This is Tianzi Palace. It's said that this is where the ruler of the underworld lives, and this is also the highest point in all of Ghost City. Now, the underworld, much like the land of the living, is very much a bureaucracy. It's based off of a justice system. So no matter who you were in your previous life, an emperor or a peasant, you'll be treated equally, and punishments will be doled out equally here in the underworld.
Guess there's no get-out-of-jail-free card in the underworld. The belief is that all your deeds are laid bare, and any skeletons in the closet will come tumbling out. Ready for passing judgment is this elaborate court setup, complete with armed guards on standby, and even a secretary to record the minutes. There's also a jail that's making me a little queasy just looking at it. It definitely doesn't seem like an ordinary prison.
So you may have heard of the 7 deadly sins. Well, here in China, many believe that there are actually 18 layers in the underworld. And here you can see some really gruesome depictions of some of these sins and then the punishments that go along with them. There's a really scary one of a man with a hook in his body, and he's actually being weighed on a scale. And that's supposed to represent a shop owner who tends to rip off his customers, give them less than the amount they paid for, and then now here in the underworld, he's getting the corresponding punishment. And these are so morbid, actually. There's a reason for that. It's meant to scare the living into being good while they're here on Earth, and I feel like it'd be pretty effective. So what brings you guys all the way to Fengdu?
Well, we have nothing like this really in England, so we had to come and see what all the architecture and things are about here.
What's been your impression of the place so far?
It's really beautiful. When you see all the statues and all the carvings, it's breathtaking. It's really outstanding because we have nothing like this.
Have you seen anything like this? It's kind of a celebration of the dead before, an entire village dedicated to that.
I haven't personally seen it. I've heard about them, because I know Mexico do one, yeah. But I haven't actually seen one. So this is really good. Does this speak to you in a certain way? This way of, I guess, remembering and celebrating the dead in a way that's almost kind of fun?
Yeah, because in England we just sort of lay flowers at a grave and mourn, but here it's a massive celebration, celebrating their lives.
Right. Really nice meeting you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a real grimness to this place on the surface, but I think at its core, it's meant to capture the ephemeral nature of life. Our time on Earth is so short, and at the end of it, the only real thing we have to show for it is our actions. When faced with a choice, were we compassionate or uncaring? Altruistic or selfish? According to Fengdu folklore, the accumulation of such decisions determines what the afterlife has in store for us. The message is to do good and be kind to others, or else something dreadful could be awaiting you in whatever comes after death. Coming up next, Ghost City kicks off Ghost Festival celebrations. It's believed on this day, spirits return to the land of the living. You might think that constantly hearing all kinds of ghost stories would make your childhood a fearful time, but it actually seems to be quite the opposite. That's the impression I get from an artist who grew up surrounded by a culture that gave him a comfortable familiarity with ghosts. The spirits he dreams up have become the theme of his art. For a rather dark subject matter, I think Master Lei's works are surprisingly whimsical. Ghosts and spirits don't seem so scary painted in these vivid colors. After all, art is about finding beauty, even in the seemingly unpleasant.
你看这个我画的这个是吞口，吞口它是一种辟邪保平安的，就是民间传说那种。
哦，是什么意思？是说他会把不好的东西给吞进去吗？
对。
哦。
就是给人带来那个吉祥、平安那种。
哦，所以一般人会把这个挂在家里，是吧？
对。哦。求平安的吧。
哦，这还是有讲究。
是。
So Mr. Lei's father was the one who originated this particular art form, and you can see some of his works still up here on the wall. There's a pretty obvious evolution in artistic style from father to son. His father's works are a bit more serious, more traditional, and then his works down here, they're more pastel colors, it looks a bit more contemporary. And there's actually a reason for that. Mr. Lei said he wants to ensure that his works will stand the test of time and be able to stay relevant even as the decades go on. And so he chose to make these colors, the styles, a bit more contemporary. Now, he also has a daughter. She's 25 and she studies art as well, but she's not as interested in this particular art form. So now Mr. Lei is pondering how to ensure that this style will be able to pass down to future generations, and that's a question he's still considering.
Some art requires a brush, and some relies on the body.
丰都神国是1991年，也就是丰都的世界庙会由我创编的。我既是原创人，也是传承人。这个灵感来自于什么？我在名山上看到了一幅壁画。里面表达的内容大体有5个。第一个就是祭祀，或者是祈福；第二个就是驱邪，第三一点就是狩猎。我们的古人喜欢狩猎，我们用击鼓的方式来追赶猎物。第4一点，征战；第5个就是欢庆。
Ghost Festival, traditionally called Zhongyuan Festival, falls on the 15th day of the 7th lunar month. Many of these rituals are centuries old. In its earliest origins, Ghost Festival was a simple harvest celebration called Guajie, or Melon Festival. Farmers would give alms to shigu, or orphaned spirits who no longer had living descendants to pray for them. Today, there's a tradition of hanging 100 tags representing 100 families to honor all of China's departed, and flowers are released onto the water in veneration. It was during the Eastern Han Dynasty 1900 years ago that, with the spread of Taoism, the festival became associated with the afterlife. The belief is, on this day, an official in charge of absolving sins comes from the underworld to judge people's deeds.
This procession is a Fengdu tradition every year at the Ghost Festival, and the banners that they're holding up are to remember their ancestors, people who have already moved on into whatever comes after death.
By the northern and southern dynasties during the 4th and 5th centuries, Yulanpen became a Buddhist festival. The day commemorates a Buddhist disciple who ventured into the 18th realm of hell to find and rescue his mother, an act celebrated as a display of great filial piety. It was several centuries later, during the Tang Dynasty, that Taoist and Buddhist influences combined to form Zhongyuan Festival as we know it today.
scarier at night than during the day. Something about when the sun goes down and all the lights are off, and then there's, oh my God, and these people dressed in these costumes and the makeup is really, really scary. Hi, oh, he seems friendly, he's waving. Hello, nice to meet you. What's your name? 你叫什么名字?
My name is Chen Luohan.
Oh, wow, even knows a little English. Wow, so he's not as scary now, but yeah, even in the underworld, that you have friendly spirits, I guess. 你们以前参加过鬼节这个活动吗？什么感觉啊？有点害怕。有点害怕是吧？你们今天什么感受啊？激动。害怕吗？不害怕。Supposed to, according to legend, drive away evil spirits. Kind of a similar concept to firecrackers. That's why firecrackers are put off at Chinese New Year, to drive away any evil that might be lurking around. Another really important tradition at the Fengdu Ghost Festival. The dragon's body is made of willow, which is supposed to be a lucky material. It's supposed to drive away evil spirits. And then water is being splashed on the dragon, and that's because water is said to bring prosperity. And also, Chinese people believe in a balance between yin and yang, darkness and lightness. And Ghost Festival is about as dark as it gets, and water is a very yin element. So of course, water is a big part of the Ghost Festival, and that's why people are splashing the water onto the dragon. And we're all getting wet.
As humans, we have a need to remember our departed loved ones. And for that veneration to feel celebratory makes the whole notion of death less traumatic and rather like the closing of the book.
They're all soaked like it's raining.
These rituals for remembering the dead help us feel like we're keeping them close. Perhaps they also give us hope that we'll be remembered too when our own time comes. Coming up next, I experience the quieter side of the festival in a mountain village where a family observes the holiday with all its hallowed rituals. Near Fengdu, things are calmer and move more slowly than in Ghost City. For many families here, Zhongyuan Festival is a special day when they welcome departed loved ones as the most honored of guests. The belief is that the gates of the underworld open just once a year. So the dead relatives who finally get to come back home deserve a proper greeting.
The Zhongyuan Festival is a very festive affair in the city nowadays, but in the countryside it's still a very traditional event about honoring your ancestors, venerating those who've passed, and today we've arrived at this village and we're going to see how they celebrate Zhongyuan Festival here.
The day starts early. Everyone in the extended family has a part to play in the preparations. Watching their effortless teamwork, how they all come together to work in harmony as a family, makes me feel really warm, and also a little useless. I'm just trying not to get in the way, and maybe pick up a tidbit or two of knowledge about home cooking. Nearly everything that'll be on the dining table is made from scratch, using ingredients picked from the earth just a few minutes walk from here. Traditionally, it's the women of the Zhang family flexing their culinary muscles, while the men hold down the fort outside, welcoming the guests and catching up with relatives who don't get to return home often. Ghost City has its allure, but I think this is Zhongyuan Festival in its most raw, unembellished form. Just loved ones coming together to remember their shared ancestors, generations with the same surname that lived before them, perhaps within these very walls.
作为一个在这里长大的人，对鬼神文化是一个什么感觉？
其实老实说，很小的时候听大人讲说那个鬼啊神啊，肯定我们的反应都一样，都有点害怕。但是我可能怎么说，听得多了吧，我了解的比较早，所以说很早以前啊，我就对鬼产生了另外一种认识。我就觉得好像你看我们现在家家户户都有家神，都有什么祭祖的活动。那么在这些活动当中，我们给自己逝去的祖先磕头。行礼，然后求祖先保佑儿孙，那个福禄满门，这样一种过程呢，实际上让我觉得我们在世的人啊，对那个鬼神实际上是一种把鬼神当做了自己家庭成员。所以说很早以前我就觉得这个鬼神呢，并不像我们想象的那么可怕。所以说，它反而是给一个家族啊注入了一种长久的精神力量，可以说是一种精神的支持。好，一个大点，进来吧，来吧，你们几个过子分一下，就在后头拍视频啊，晓得不？啊，来啊！来，回到我们去喽。那个司马迁写《史记》，写到人穷则返本，一个人在自己走投无路的时候，他会想到自己是从哪里来的。那我们每一个人为什么要去寻根问祖？实际上也就是这样的，我们要知道自己从哪儿来，才能够知道自己到哪儿去。那我们从哪儿来呢？我们都是从祖上一辈一辈传下来的。所以说，我觉得一个人呢，应该了解过去。只不过这个在传递的过程当中啊，在民间它并不像我们想象的那么科学。所以说，他用这样一种，民间更好懂的，老百姓更好懂的一种形式，把它传承下来了。就是用鬼神的这样一种讲法，把我们对祖先的这样一种，思念缅怀，把它固定下来，然后变成了我们今天所看到的一种仪式。
The patriarch of the family reads a passage to show remembrance of their ancestors and pray for their blessings. He adds a prayer that the entire Zhang clan will have more time to spend together with their loved ones and, of course, enjoy health and happiness. While inside the home is about remembering the Zhang family's ancestors, outside is dedicated to orphaned ghosts, or those who have no remaining family to go back home to. There's wine and a warm meal just for them, and burnt offerings of paper money. When the rituals are over, it's time for the living to feast as well. I'll be darned if that wasn't one of the best home-cooked meals I've had in my life. Guess there's no such thing as too many cooks in the kitchen for this family.
我是张云香的外侄孙谭杏儿。
我是张云香的儿媳妇，我叫向琴英。
我叫张云香，今年84了，而且85的饭。好，这嘛就是我的老伙伴。说吧。
我叫罗国烟。 今年83嘛
，80的
，80的吧，我今年80的，这个我都不晓得。
something most people like to talk about in China. But in Fengdu, it's an approachable topic, a constant presence, something that's woven into the very fabric of this place.
Before coming here to Ghost City, I had an impression in my mind of what it might be like. I thought it would be this kind of spooky place, maybe even a little bit dark, but it's just not what I expected at all. The locals here are filled with this zest for life, and I think it probably comes from growing up talking about the concept of death. It's just this constant reminder that our days are numbered, and it fills them with this urgency to make every day count. And I think that's a reminder that we could all use. I'm Megan, thanks for joining me in Fengdu, and see you next time on Travelogue.